listener or you're back for more. We're so glad that you're here. This is Carrie and Jen, your co-hosts, and we are excited to jump into a new episode on an important topic and one that I personally have seen maybe the fuller scope of, perhaps. And so we want to talk about how a particular setup within like the holistic healthcare space maybe doesn't serve women quite as well, and what to look for instead, and what we've learned about this. And so, we've talked about before about how like conventional medicine setup is really not set up to address root cause and to really walk with somebody in their journey. We've definitely talked about that on different past episodes. But what about in the holistic space? I think sometimes if we zoom out and we look at the bigger picture, it's like, okay, are we going to choose conventional or are we going to choose holistic? And sometimes it's a mixture of both for sure, but maybe you're all about the natural way. You're like, yes, I'm definitely going the holistic route. Well, there's a lot more people in that space now, and a lot more, let's call them different setups too. And so we wanted to talk about what God has really shown us is working best to support clients in more of a just a integrative way, a way that is really going to support them at all aspects of their health, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. So, Jen, do you have any initial thoughts to share on this topic?
Yeah, I just want to express like how grateful I am that God is leading us in Cornerstone to really show us that, you know, as we're, building the practice and really looking for other practitioners who are, we just had a meeting with someone who's a licensed counselor and she does NET, which is neuro-emotional technique. And, we're looking at somebody who is in the Encounter School of Ministry, which focuses on the inner spiritual healing. And, we really want to bring these people into the practice because one is, obviously we aren't an expert in those things. And we really believe in healing on all levels. And we want to, quote unquote, kind of have an expert for each of those in the practice. While we do focus on the physical, we do offer people, emotional and spiritual tips and tools, but to really dig deeper, I am so grateful to God that He's really brought these people to us to integrate into the practice and to work as a team to really serve our clients. So yeah, God's just really making the picture so clear for us about, how we need to work together to bring true healing.
Yeah, he calls us to community, and that's in various forms. And he's really shown us how a community is needed to help support, people in their health, just like it is in our personal lives, in our families, etc. So we're super thankful for that. So
Yeah.
I kind of just chat through the various options, let's say, when you think about getting, personalized help within the holistic space. There's going to be more of like the solo practitioner, maybe on a smaller scale, let's say one person that's serving clients. There's going to be a more of like a larger network clinic model, whether it's in person or virtual. Probably, I'm probably speaking more about the virtual option, but there are definitely some larger virtual clinics that have lots of different people on board, and they just serve more people. That's option number two, and then thirdly, kind of where we fall is still on the smaller side, but more of a team aspect. So those are kind of the three things that I wanted to chat through today, and just the differences and kind of what the Lord's shown us, maybe is the best one to serve clients in the best way. So first, we'll talk just about the solo practitioner, which I was for a really long time. And I definitely, I think that people are probably just like I was in it for the right reasons, as far as we just want to help people, right? Maybe we have our own story as far as, and Jen, you can definitely speak to this too, as far as like our own health journey that has led us here. And now we want to help people see it in a different way, right? I think it's beautiful. I think that's just part of God's plan, right? It's just so healing when we can help people with things that we struggle with or things that we wish we would have known. But I look back and see probably where long term maybe, and how to serve the clients the best way possible. It's not the best thing long term for to really serve the most people in the best way. And so what I love about it is that I could work with people in a more meaningful way and really help them and walk with them in their journey. And that you build a relationship with people. But there was definitely something that felt super heavy for me and Jen can definitely talk about this because she was the one I called. I was like, yeah, I can't figure this out, and this is over my head. I really feel really overwhelmed because there was no second set of eyes. There was no person to consult with. There was no collaboration. So that's where I feel like the solo practitioner model doesn't work the best, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, doing this, even, when I thought about doing this on my own, I was overwhelmed, right? Carrie was already doing it and overwhelmed, but it's just nice that, we both have different gifts. We both have different strengths. And we're just talking about us, but there's other people in the practice too, the same thing. They have different strengths. They have different gifts that really collaborate with ours in a way that only God could orchestrate, by the way. And so it's just really nice, when I have a question on something and I know Carrie knows it probably off the top of her head, or when we're in a group setting and we're, sort of working with a patient and maybe they've stalled or not getting to where we thought they should be. And we talk through it and we're like, oh, yeah, now, someone offers a perspective of, did you think about this? Or what about this? And you're like, it like clicks for you, right? And it takes really, as they say, a village to really see somebody for their story, and not just the physical symptoms.
Yeah, I mean, healing's complex.
Yeah,
It just
no doubt.
is. There's a lot of different things to consider and navigate through in trying to figure out the true root cause, and then helping the client, obviously, along on their journey, navigate it as well. It's always been on my heart that I really wanted to help people long term, not just for 3 or 6 months. A lot of times there are set packages and things that people have for care. And my heart's always been, gosh, I just want to help people longer term and walk with them and really encourage them and provide accountability. But that can get really overwhelming when it's just you, right? Like I want to respond to people's messages, but it's a lot. And so I think that's where a lot of people start, which isn't a bad place to start. But I think that as far as longer term, for even one person's physical health, right? It's easy to get burnt out in that space for sure, and that's where a lot of people, maybe have good intentions, but then they get burnt out maybe with whatever aspect of it, and don't end up longer term serving clients one on one. That's why you don't see a ton of people serving clients one on one because it can be taxing if you don't have the right team and the right support. So that's a little bit about that model. The next model that I mentioned was kind of a larger network clinical model. And kind of the pros and cons of this in my mind would be that you get access to more specialists, perhaps, if it's like a larger clinic, but sometimes the consistency is not there and maybe just the personalized care. And you could be bouncing around from practitioner to practitioner, possibly. And sometimes that there's not a faith aspect of that. There's not a full picture aspect. They're mainly just focusing on the physical, from my experience. And sometimes they kind of chase symptoms a little bit, like we talked about in a previous episode when we mentioned what is actually getting to the root cause and what does that mean. Sometimes we can treat symptoms and not necessarily look at the systems and what they're doing and really get to the root cause.
Yeah, I think, in mainstream, that model to the extreme is there's a specialist for everything, right? And they break it down into, very minute, and they don't kind of collaborate, so to say. I shouldn't say they sometimes collaborate, but not always. And you're going to one specialist and telling them everything, and then you go to another specialist and then you got to retell that story, and you don't feel seen or heard because every time you're going to this different specialist, you're retelling the story. They haven't connected the pieces with the first 18 doctors that you saw. I'm exaggerating, of course, but I do, I'm thinking about this young lady that I saw that had long COVID, and she had seen 8 different specialists, rheumatologists, pulmonologists, I mean, you name it. None of them were working together to kind of put the pieces together for her. Um, and so even in, the holistic model, sometimes if, there's more than one person and they're not communicating. So it's really important that the people who are providing care are talking through and seeing the whole person, the whole picture, and not just the physical symptoms. And they're really talking about their lifestyle, how they're thinking, as well as the physical, support like nutrition and those sorts of things. So yeah, I mean, I think we see in mainstream that extreme now with so many specialists. And while there is, obviously good aspects to having a specialist, they know that piece of the body extremely well. And for some people, like when you're having a heart transplant, I definitely want a heart specialist, right? Like not
Yeah.
throwing the baby out with the bathwater here, guys. Um, but we're taking the 30,000-foot view, of course. So I think what makes us different is that you do have a dedicated practitioner, but you also have a team of practitioners that know your whole story.
Yeah. And goodness, like just putting more heads than one together is such a gift. I mean, for you, for us, we desperately want to help you, right? We all, each one of the people on our team has a heart to help and different ways of viewing things. And like Jim said, it's so amazing how God shows up in that atmosphere of just like, have you thought about this? Or what about this? It's just, yeah, there's definitely where two or more are gathered, right? He's there. So we definitely feel that
Man,
when we're doing our roundtable discussions that we have every week, and just really trying to look at a client as where they're at, what are their main symptoms, and what is the story that it's telling us, and what is going to be the best way to move right to help them walk back towards healing. And that's going to look different for everybody, and it's going to take varying lengths of time and all the things. But just having that team in place, um, it's just such a gift for
yeah,
all.
and as well as having the team is having the time, right? We provide messaging Monday through Friday. Um,
Yeah.
that really, we want to educate you, we want to support you. We don't just want to give you a plan and say go on your way. We really wanted to take the time. That's why we have the community within our practice, so that people can collaborate with each other. We can encourage you there. We can openly be vulnerable and share where we are in our healing journey. So it's just not about here's a plan, go implement it. It's more about how can we educate you? How can we support you through prayer, even, right? And getting you to understand the healing journey, the aspects of the healing journey, and just to know that someone's walking it with you, really. Sometimes that's healing in and of itself.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, we are really a gospel centered practice. So just seeking the Lord for guidance, praying for our clients, just believing in healing for all aspects, right? I mean, I know that usually people come because they have this one symptom, or they're feeling just awful and they don't know what to do. So it definitely starts with the physical, but there's always emotional and spiritual components to every healing story. So just trying to seek the Lord and what is going to be the best for each individual client where they are is first. It's first for us, because we know that we don't have all the answers. I certainly don't. Jen doesn't. The other people that work with us, we know as a human we don't have all the answers, but we know who does. So just relying on that is absolutely key. Um, of course, we do testing for sure. Testing has a place, but we're really looking at more of the bigger picture and at the person, and not just trying to get like a perfect lab result and just only looking at the results there. I mean, we really obviously we test and we don't need to guess on certain things, but it's not the only thing that drives our plan for a client. Um, and like Jen said, I always, maybe to a fault, I'm explaining something and then I'm asking the client, does that make sense? Do you understand this? Because I really want people to understand. I don't want them to just do something because Carrie told them to do it, or Jen told them to do it. I think it just, yeah, I want people to understand what is going on so that they know their body is not messing up. It's actually just responding to what has been, the environment that it's been in, that whatever's missing, right? It's been kind of it's been surviving, but we want to help it to thrive. So that's important to me that clients understand that. So just education support there, so that they have confidence in what we're asking them to do is really going to be healing to their body.
Yeah, so if you're listening and you've maybe felt dismissed or overlooked or confused in the past by your care, you're probably not alone. You're not alone. It's not the end of the story. You will heal. And, we just want to let you know that book a call with us. We have free inquiry calls. We would love to hear your story. Healing is possible when you're seen, supported, and you're rooted in God's truth. And so we really would love to support you on that journey. Again, there's free resources on our website, cornerstoneintegrativehealing.com. You could take our quiz. Again, book an inquiry, free discovery call with us. We'd love to just see if it's a good fit for you and for us and support you along the way. So till next time, thanks for listening.